Hey there, Mark Brown. Cold opening versus warm opening? What? What does that mean?
I have no idea.
To this, I learned a lot from my stand-up comedy days, and I love going to experts who are still in it, still writing. But there is a difference. And if you're listening to this and you're a professional and you're out there and you're doing a cold opening, we're going to suggest you're missing connection, which means referrals, which means rebookings, which means business and impact.
Anyone can give a presentation. Few deliver unforgettable presentations. What's the difference? You're about to find out. Welcome to the Unforgettable Presentations Podcasts with your hosts, world champion speakers and coaches Mark Brown.
Your life tells a story, and there's someone out there who needs to hear it.
And Darren LaCroix.
Stage time, stage time, stage time.
Ready for some powerful presentation ahas? Let's dive right in.
All right, Mark, I got to dive in. What comedians know that speakers don't know. And since you and I just talked about soul on fire, I'm on fire for this because I'm adamant. So many speakers, and I get it. However, there's ego involved. There's work involved. Yeah, but you're missing out. Anyway, that's my initial thought.
You mentioned in the opening, you mentioned cold open, warm open, and I'm sure the individuals out there going, what? Cold, warm, what? And the best way to find out what that means is to talk to a person who understands that tremendously. Your comedy mentor and our special guest today, Chris McGuire. What's up, Chris?
McGuire, welcome, brother.
Yeah, it's good to be here. You were on fire, Darren. That was a killer intro to this thing.
Nice. I'm adamant because I just see so many lackluster openings. Now it's intriguing. It's a good opening, but this audience is different. They're not the same as the MLM all-in audience that's going to rave and applause. They're not the same as fellow NSA members who are going to applaud and glad you're there. They're freaking accountants. They're managerial accountants. But whatever it is, it's their world. And my belief is that it's our content, but it's our responsibility to connect our content to their world. Chris?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I see this as a problem and an opportunity. First of all, a cold open is just getting into your speech, starting with your first engaging question. Imagine this, getting into your story, whatever it is. A warm open is establishing some kind of commonality with the audience before you get into your material. Mm-hmm. So, ironically, Darren, you and I have been talking about this. We both have comedy backgrounds, and I've always been amazed that speakers don't do what comedians do when they walk into an unfamiliar space.
Yeah. And honestly, you don't even have to be hysterical. And it's not even about comedy and big laughs. It's about connection. You can't educate, entertain, or inspire unless you connect first. This is why I put so much effort into my opening intro video, because if the introducer is boring or reads horribly and word for word and does not sound authentic, then I can overcome that with the video. But then, boom, it's my turn. I'm on stage. It's almost like before we get started, it's before we.
That's exactly what it is. Yes.
Let's just talk. Let's
talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about why we're all here. Darren. I've worked with you on a bunch of these now, and you're my dream client when it comes to this because you're passionate about this. You're passionate about addressing the audience like in a very customized sense. And, you know, it's not enough to be an expert at what you do. You have to connect on a deeper level. And the best way to do that is to address what you got in common with everybody, right? You're all, I mean, there's physical commonality, which is we're all in the same city, we're all in the same hotel, we're all in the same room. And then there's the commonality between what do you as a speaker have in common with the audience? And I think for Darren, this is especially important because he's a motivational speaker, right? He's talking about motivation, but every audience he does is different.
Correct.
When Darren keynotes, Darren, let's run through the last few we've done. We had.
So, and here's the other key. Like, I'm a motivational speaker. Yes, that's my keynote job. And when I'm in front of a motivating audience, like a multi-level marketing or something like that, that's easy. I'm still going to do this work, even though it's easy to connect. But when it's not my audience, I call in the big guns. I call in the McGuire. I need a McGuire. McGuire needs to connect me. And so, for example, right now, I'm working on plumbers and contracts.
Plumbers, HVAC, and electricians.
Yeah, they're not my people. Like, I love them, but like I had a new refrigerator. I bought a new refrigerator. I paid for, didn't even think twice about having them deliver it because they had to take the door off of my house to get the fridge in. I'm just watching in awe. I'm like, oh my gosh, in 2.5 minutes, they took my door off and then they put it back on in 90 seconds. Like, I have a problem if the lock is stuck, never mind.
Yeah, they're like a pit crew. Yeah.
But going back to what we're talking about, so the blue collar audience isn't I respect them, but I don't have that commonality, that thought process. And then, Chris, last year I did that ADI, which is CEOs of aftermarket
auto supplies,
for cars.
Yeah.
And I got a couple clips here, Chris, that we can show a couple quick examples that I hired Chris to be able to uncover the humor between me and them. You know, sometimes in this situation, I'm the fish out of water, which is great.
It's the best.
Yeah, because I can use humility. I can hold them up in respect as I connect. There you go, Mark.
You can act like respect and connect. There you go.
Boom.
Yeah, you can act like a dummy. If you're a fish out of water, it's the most fun thing because you walk into a space like you can act like you're a dummy and you don't know anything. And that will give you, it elevates them and it makes you, it gives you the comedic opportunities to get a bunch of things wrong.
Yep.
I know what's interesting too, Darren. I'm hearing you guys talk about that. I have had agricultural audiences. I had 3 different truckers associations hire me. I don't drive a big rig. Right. And of course, Darren, I cannot forget when you called me years ago when you had to face high school students. So please understand, for those who are watching and listening, yes, you are a professional, but don't limit yourself to a particular lane. I only talk to medical pros. You might be shortchanging yourself. But if you listen to what Chris has to share today, you may find yourself much more comfortable dealing with a different audience demographic who needs your message, who needs you, but then you'll be able to do it more effectively when you take the ideas that Chris is going to share. I just set you up, Chris.
Oh, thank you. So basically, the problem is the most important thing is to connect with people. And when you connect with people, you'll get more referrals, you're commanding higher fees. And if you're selling from the stage, you're going to convert more prospects to clients. So that, I mean, especially if you're selling from the stage, this is super, super, super important. So the problem is that speakers don't really have a plan for this. You know, just mentioning, like Darren and I were talking about this, just mentioning the company's name a couple of times is a Mad Lib. It's not a strategy, you know?
Chris, I see a lot of speakers who they take the logo and they put it in their slides and they're done.
Yeah. That's just scratching the surface.
That's not even, that's like half a scratch.
The outcome you want from the audience is you want them to feel like you wrote the speech just for them.
Yep.
And when you do that, it feels like magic to them. Okay. So if you start with the before I begin, as Darren said, which is really, that's brilliant. It's exactly what it is. If you start with that and you find a way into your speech, it becomes seamless. So like, for example, when a comedian walks into an unfamiliar room, the first thing they're thinking isn't, I'm just going to start with my first joke. That's not what they're thinking. They are scanning the room for weird stuff in it, or they're thinking about, they may go out on the street and look around or whatever, but they're looking for those odd things that everyone else notices, in the space. So if you're in a particular city, you can connect by, hey, we're all in the city. If you're in a room, you connect in the room. Like for Darren, he's had some, what's the weirdest room? The weirdest room was the tent.
Let me show the clip. Before I show the clip of the funny, this is exactly in line with what you're saying. I was speaking in a mansion in Barcelona, Spain, but they didn't have a big event room. So not only was I speaking outside in a tent, it was unseasonably freezing out. So check this out real quick. I was literally texting Chris from Barcelona. I'm like, what do I do with this? So check this out.
Night in the cold. They got the heaters.
So they brought in heaters. If you're listening to the audio, they literally had heaters filling this tent. I'm speaking in a tent. Biggest fee of my life.
And he's in a tent.
And I'm really in a tent, but it's...
And you're something like 50 feet from a 15th century monastery, Spanish monastery. That's got...
Just, there. And guess what? They saw all this as they were coming in, and they experienced all this. So now we have that...
You want to turn that down? There you go.
Now we have that commonality that we don't even necessarily have to be funny. And Chris, if you could explain what you talk about in our workshops about levity versus comedy.
Sure. I mean, a lot of it's just common sense and recognizing what's called incongruity. What's incongruous? So what's incongruous is that Darren is a world champion and he's talking in a tent. Okay. He's a world champion and he's in a tent. So immediately when you're in a situation, it's what I call the humble surroundings. When you're in the situation, there are a bunch of strategies, but one of them is to say, guys, I just want to say after 25 years as a motivational speaker, I'm going to share what I tell people, which is if you work hard and you put your heart into everything, someday you can deliver your keynote that you've worked years on in a tent. So and the other thing is, like, what's the incongruity? Well, there's a 15th century monastery 50 feet away that has grand ballrooms, beautiful ballrooms. So it's like you make the joke about how you didn't rate to be in the ballrooms. You're being humble, a few things like that. So and initially you think about, it's really just common sense. If you think about it, if
you know what to do with it.
Right. And don't be so grateful. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes everybody's just like, oh, I'm so grateful to have this gig and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to make the best out of everything. No, for a second step back, be a little cynical. You're in a tent. They flew you 6,000 miles to speak in a damn tent.
And it kills me, Chris, when people do, what an honor to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's their first words. Well, guess what? They already had 13 other speakers that
started with
first words as well. So your honor is diluted by 13 other honors. So here's now for everyone listening, you're going to hear what I say. On the YouTube version, you'll see the slides that I put up, but they didn't videotape this, but I was audio recording. So but listen to what happened. So this is the Finca Mas Solares is the place where the venue was. So now remember, it's freezing out. They had to bring those heaters in. So what resonates?
Is actually from the Catalan word meaning chilly at night. And you may not know this, but sieges.
So that's number one. And then one of the other challenges was this was in a city called Sieges, and there were cabs. Well, let's just say there were buses to bring people to the event because there were no sleeping rooms at the event. And so even though they had buses, these are CEOs, so they're all just getting cabs. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. But it's a small little town.
Actually, the Spanish word loosely translated means not enough taxis.
That's great. You got an applause break on that one.
Turns into applause
Yeah.
means agreement. Laughter turning into applause means agreement. Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so what Darren's doing there, he's tapping into the common frustrations of everybody at the event. Before he even gets into the audience frustrations about, whatever industry they're in, he's starting off with something really light, which is making fun of how they all got there or where they are or whatever. I mean, I love that we call these the gold mines. These are the places you go to find humor. The room gold mine, like the tent, it's one of my favorites. And, Darren and I spoke at a Toastmasters, a year or so ago, and their meeting room, and Darren goes, yeah, I called the guy. He said, when you drive in, you'll see a Buffalo Wild Wings, and we're in the room above Buffalo Wild Wings. Now, some speakers hear that and are like, I am now updating my LinkedIn to be former speaker. You know what I mean? My career is over. But to me, I'm just literally thinking like, great. You just gave me my opening line, like, hey, great to be here. I'm going to have to cut this a little short because I just put my wing order in. I just have to, I don't want to brag, but this is the third Buffalo Wild Wings I've done this week. And next week I'm at Ruby Tuesdays. What I mean? You just go like own it. It was a weird room. It had other weird stuff in it, like a medical scanner and a dartboard. It was a very, very strange room. And I was absolutely delighted to speak in it because I knew I could make a connection with the audience like immediately rather than, and here's how you want to be funny,
And especially, Chris, because when they introduced you as late night,
television. It was like, television producer for 25 years. And then here I am in the Buffalo Wild Wings,
Woohoo!
Like most people would want to run into traffic, but I'm literally like going, this is the greatest thing that happened.
Yeah.
So I love this stuff. And this all comes from stand-up comedy because Darren and I both did, weird rooms, bowling alleys, Chinese restaurants, all that stuff, weird bars where you're in the corner and the game is going on behind you. These are all elephants in the room that you call out. And even when you're getting paid big bucks like Darren was to go in Spain, you still may end up in a weird venue.
Yeah, or there could be a weird prop on stage.
Yes.
Or a weird stage. Mark and I, when we did the YPO, they had this like Juliet platform.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Raised. Here's the stage, and they had this Juliet platform. It's like, how do we coach this? So one of them, it worked in their story. We had fun with it, but we, in our situation, like, what is the thing? And then what we teach is what to do with that gold mine.
Yeah.
And
I'm still getting over the medical equipment and a dartboard.
Oh, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It was like a medical
foosball
scare. There was a
table.
dummy in there. It was the weirdest thing ever.
It's funny though, and really quickly, for those who are wondering, when Darren said Juliet platform, picture you're watching the play Romeo and Juliet, and Romeo is standing downstairs, and Juliet's on this huge windowsill saying, Romeo, oh Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? They built a platform on the stage in one corner, and one of our speakers actually walked out on that platform to begin his speech. Then he paused to walk down 85 steps to get to the stage and then continue. It's like, what in the world but that's how they did it. For another one of their meetings, they had the stage simulated the White House press room. So you got a lectern and a flag behind. It was really interesting, but if you use the environment, as Chris is saying, and make that be the first thing you say, one, you're going to release some tension. Two, whatever they now realize, hey, this individual is a cool person to talk to. They're not going to come and preach at me, but they understand I will listen to somebody who can have fun with the surroundings and they can tap into my own frustrations, my own emotions. And they're saying, Darren always preaches this, you're saying what they're thinking. It's a great way to start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, when you do a room thing like that, it also gives you your last line. You know what I mean? So you can open with, I got to put my wing order in. And then when you're done, you're like, I'd love to hang around, guys, but my wing order's getting cold. See you later. You know what I mean? It gives you it's a sandwich, you know? So it's like you can still do it. And, you know, I think even when you land with something super impactful, and humor should never get in the way with your message. But even when you land with something impactful, a little light comment at the end that you introduced in the beginning is not going to get in the way. In fact, it's going to make them love you. It's going to make them feel like you went through something together.
Yeah, and when I was in Barcelona, the event planner actually wanted me to sit down and run the jokes by him, which always makes me nervous. Because they're not going to understand it as well as how it would work. But, you know, they're paying me, so I kind of had to do it. So I'm going through the jokes and explaining them, and I get to this joke, and he just like shakes his head, smiles, and laughs. He goes, "Oh, I'm never going to hear the end of that one." And so, again, the organization was called ADI, Automotive Distributors International. They're in Europe. And so Chris wrote this great joke that I loved, which is why I hired him. By the way, if you want to connect with Chris, just go to getaspeakingcoach.com. Look, I pay him, I invest in him because I get that importance of the connection. So here's what I turned that joke into, and here's how they responded. Listen for the laughter and then applause.
Thinking about this, and I'm watching you guys, and I'm like, what does ADI really stand for? And I thought about it, and I think it's all drinks included. Yes.
Somebody whistle just now? Did somebody whistle?
No. Do you know how much that costs? All right.
That was great.
Yeah, that's a t-shirt. That guy would, you know, next year they should have that as a freaking t-shirt.
That's it.
You know, people will go crazy. Yeah, I mean, like, and that's making fun. That's the event gold mine, which is there were a lot of cocktail, you know, parties and things like that. And it was, you know, mostly men, and they were throwing back drinks, you know.
So real quick, Chris, for the benefit of our audience members, viewers and listeners who like to get it in a one-liner, what is the principle that represents what we just discussed regarding the warm open and being aware of? Is it like a one-line principle that you could do?
Yeah. It's establishing commonality through incongruity. So what incongruity is basically, to boil it down to Sesame Street, it's one of these things is not like the other. Okay. One of these things does not belong. That's what incongruity is. So Darren, world champion, doing jokes in a tent, right?
Yeah.
Darren that's the room gold mine. The venue gold mine is Darren and ADI, which is a bunch of men, right, doing their conference at a 15th century Spanish monastery. The incongruity is there was also the schedule gold mine, which is the next day they were all going to be going.
Hold on.
Say what? Oh, do you have that joke?
That one.
Okay, go ahead.
Clip.
Do it.
All right. So the other gold mine that Chris is bringing up is the schedule. So Chris looks at all these different aspects and the gold mine of the schedule. So keep in mind, this audience is mostly men. And on Thursday, after I speak, so I'm speaking on Tuesday night. On Thursday, they're all going from this place to a monastery. So Chris wrote this joke. I loved it. And this is what it turned into.
Thursday, you're going to go tomorrow, you're going to go to the Monastery, which is a historical location run by a group of Benedictine monks, just in case you wanted to be around more men. In case you didn't get enough of that, just, you know.
Now, I knew when Darren told me that they were going to be at a monastery, right? And I knew they're in the car business. So I'm like, I guarantee this is at least 80% men, right? So now you have incongruity, which is you got a bunch of men, right? And they're putting them all in a building that's for men. And, and then they're going to go to another building that's inhabited with more men. So, the joke kind of leads to itself. Again, it's the incongruity. It's the commonality that they're all going through the experience. They may have even thought in their head, do I really need to go to another freaking monastery? So that is the schedule gold mine and the venue gold mine. The industry gold mine is how you connect their industry to all the other gold mines, right? So the gold mines are like the country or the region. It's the city. So with Darren, a lot of times that's Las Vegas. It's the venue, which is the big hotel kind of, or this was the monastery. The audience is, and industry is what's their industry and who's in the room. And then the room gold mine, and then the you gold mine, which is, who you are as a speaker. And if you can connect the audience, how is the audience incongruous to all those other things? Right? How is a bunch of auto parts guys incongruous to the town of Stiges in Spain? Well, do you have a clip for this? This is my favorite joke.
I don't.
Okay, so this joke was, and again, I'll talk about
how
you
film one.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was. Every year they have a very famous horror festival here. Quentin Tarantino, Guillermo del Toro, all those guys. They all come all the time. It's a famous horror. You guys must love horror films. Now, I was thinking in my head, like, what makes auto parts guys happy? When a car breaks down. When a car breaks down, auto parts guys are super happy because they can sell them new parts. So the joke was, you guys must love horror films. You're probably the only guys who go to a horror film and cheer when the car won't start. Right? So I'm taking a trope from a horror film, which is the car that never starts, and I'm thinking about what makes these guys happy. It's when a car doesn't start. So anyway, that was my favorite joke, just because
I laughed the hardest at that one. It was good. It was good. It cracked me up. But it's connecting. It's connecting
the industry with the town. Right? The town is famous for this horror festival, and the industry is auto parts, and it's your job to see if you can make a connection. What was the other one? Oh, like, for example, contractors, right? Now, I'm not going to say too much because Darren's doing this speech, but he's doing the HVAC guys and the electricians and plumbers, right? So Darren always calls me when he's nervous. He always goes, McGuire, what am I going to do? There's a bunch of HVAC guys. What am I going to say to a room of plumbers? All this stuff. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You know how much fun it would be to poke fun at the HVAC guys and the plumbers and electricians, the guys that come into your home and, overcharge you, or they undercharge you, or now you're getting into permits and you're getting into all of their frustrations. I just think that's a blast. So what I thought about for Darren was, how do I connect the Darren gold mine, which is he's a speaker, with the electrician contractor gold mine, which is they have to give speeches, but those speeches always end with, this is going to cost $3,000 or it's going to cost $6,000, right? So I have a whole thing for him, which is him comparing his speaking versus contractor speaking. We'll see how it goes, but it made me laugh because I was just thinking about that room full of people. And then the audience is engaged because they're like, oh man, he gets us.
Exactly.
And
He gets our frustration.
yeah, most speakers won't do this. An opportunity to separate yourself from everybody else, show you care. You're going to sell more books in the back of the room. You're going to get better testimonials. You're going to get more referrals if you're willing to do the work. But again, here's the gold mines. And look, I know we just laid it out for you. We'd love to show you how to do it. If you want to join us for Connect with Any Audience, we're going to literally walk you through all the processes.
Like you could do this, but trust me, the easiest way is I've got a whole system that involves AI. This used to take me back in the day, because I did this when I was a stand-up. Back in the day, this used to take me, could be a couple of days to do a proper customization. Now I can do it in a couple hours, and if you're getting paid, 4 or 5 figures, you should put in the time.
Invest. Yes. And by the way, just because AI can't, they don't have Chris's brain.
Right.
We need the structure. We need to look at it that certain way. And look, hey, if you are committed to DIYing it, I'd recommend that you at least join us for this workshop, because then you'd know how to.
Yeah.
I don't want to try and figure it out myself. I just go to Chris, and I'm telling you, it saves me time, but most importantly, I get a deeper connection. So if you go to stagetownworkshops.com, because they're listening to the podcast, use the discount code POD, POD 25, POD 25, and you get a 25% discount just because you listen to this. But it just pains me when I see people coming in with those cold openings. And yes, you can do that. And yes, it's a lot less work. I just think you're missing out on connection, impact, and more business.
The amount of grace you get is amazing. The amount of grace you get from the audience if you're talking about something that you couldn't possibly be the guy that speaks to HVAC dudes. So they give you grace. And and by the way, I practice what I preach. I presented at Game Changers last year for Darren, and I did a whole thing. The audience was public speakers who wanted to up their business game, and so I wrote. It was near Fremont Street in Las Vegas, and I did a lot of weird businesses. And so I did. Here are the business lessons from Denny's you can get married at, an axe throwing bar where you drink beer and throw axes, and a restaurant where it's free if you weigh over 350 pounds. You know what I mean? So each one of those things, I found the incongruities and I connected it to the audience. So this stuff is great.
I got an email yesterday, and Regina said to me, "Oh, I can't wait to see what Chris does with this."
Oh no. So
Game Changers, same location. Same everything. However, on floor number 1, while we're doing Game Changers, WWE is in town.
Oh.
And they're going to have wrestling matches on the first floor.
Oh, that's
same
awesome.
building.
Second floor.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to go down and meet those guys.
He's gonna have fun with that. I know.
Yeah,
He's gonna
yeah,
have fun with that, Chris.
But the main thing is look, this is all cute and stuff like that. You can say connection and all whatever, but the proof of it is that there's real outcomes. I've had look, Darren's speeches Darren's commanding higher fees now. I had a client who came to the workshop who used the gold mines on her first call with the organizer, and they called her afterwards and doubled her fees. Before she even stepped on a stage, they doubled her fee because she showed up saying, "I'm going to do something special." And she got her fees doubled. I have a client who he was a retirement planner doing steak dinners and was dumping 10 grand into steak dinners, not converting clients. And after he used this, he was booking 5 figures every time he did his speech based on a story that we customized for his audience.
Nice.
And I have a Top Gun fighter pilot client who is a leadership guy. So it's, leadership can work, lots of different audiences. But the audience he had was state and local IT managers. And he's like, look, if I nail this speech, I'm going to get 50 more of these speeches because it was through some kind of association.
Right.
And we customized his speech for state and local, and he got 50 speeches out of it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Look, when you are a comedian at a comedy club, the only commonality is the city in the room. Everyone comes from different walks of
Pretty
life.
much, yeah.
As a speaker, it's an industry. They're coming together for a purpose.
It's easy. It's easier. Yeah, it's easier. Yeah, it's easier.
If you know, number one, what to look for, and that's what we teach you, and then what to do with it. And that's what we show you how to do. And what's really cool is you'll never walk into an event the same way again. You'll automatically, your RA, your reticular activating system's going to be looking for those incongruities. Chris calls it your humor detector.
Yeah, humor detector.
You're going to have a better humor detector from now on for the rest of your career. So I hope you join us. Connect with any audience, virtual, 2 days in November. Go to stagetimeworkshops.com. I hope this has been helpful to you and insightful, but we'd love to teach you more. Look, we love what we do. We're serious. Mark Brown, what do you got there?
Oh, there's so much here, man. Chris began, the first challenge was asking us if our opening is effective. You got to connect your content to their world. I know you said that. And a cold open, so jumps right in. But a warm open establishes a relationship first, right? And do what comedians do. They establish commonality through incongruity. That's the principle. And the components he calls gold mines. You want to learn more? Go to the workshop. Now look this. It's all about connecting first with language like, before we get started, which is a great opening line, address the elephants in the room and address what you all have in common with the audience. I love this line. You got to respect and connect. That's you and Darren together. Let the audience feel as if you're writing that speech just for them. And you can find the commonality in the environment, in the city, in the room, in the hotel, in the industry. It's find those gold mines and use the humble surroundings. Laughter turning into applause signifies the agreement with you. And when you can, use those warm opening callbacks towards the end to reinforce the message and reinforce the relationship. And always work on your humor detector. I got you guys. That was great, Chris. Thanks.
Mark Brown, man, you're like ChatGPT. You just summarized the whole thing, and I don't even think you were using AI. You were killing it.
No, using my right eye right here.
Oh my God, the dad
Using
joke.
AI or an eye or both. It's both eyes. That's it.
Boy. Oh, boy. Hey, and my last big insight that could be helpful is when I do this and I say, hey, before we get started, it may not fit your style, but an idea, do it your way, is I literally walk into the audience. I pick out a couple people that I'm going to talk to, or I talk to in the hallway if I have that opportunity, and I'll literally walk up to them, shake their hand, whatever is appropriate for the humor that's coming up, and I do some of that. So it almost feels like also now when I go up on stage and I say, all right, let's dive in, I'm changing like a theatrical mood change when I walk up on stage and then dive in.
You already set the feeling, the emotion, and you set the stage before you go on stage, because now they're comfortable with you. It's a real great opportunity to establish that rapport. And that's one thing that comedians know that speakers don't. One more time, Darren, how do you get hold of Chris if somebody wants to engage him or hire him?
Getaspeakingcoach.com. Chris McGuire, final thoughts.
Yeah, this is, Darren and I do a lot of these workshops. I feel like this one has the best, tangible outcome of all of them.
Especially for experienced speakers.
Yeah, especially. It really, they are skills that, proven from the people I've worked with, more referrals, command higher fees, convert more prospects to clients. If you sell from the stage, this one's really important. My second insight is, Darren, do you mind if I embarrass you for 2 seconds?
Sure.
And I have to call out the elephant in the room, or I'd be a fraud. It's what comedians know that speakers don't. Chris McGuire, thank you.
That's okay.
I was going to do it top of show, but I thought it would derail the situation. So I did not call out the elephant in the room. I should have.
Never too late. What comedians know that speakers
correct?
don't with Chris McGuire.
Yeah, it works.
Good.
Okay.
Perfect. All right.
Hey,
Yeah, that's it, man. This is a fun one. This one's like not a lot of slides. It's a workshop. We're going to go over. You're going to act as a writer's room for Darren LaCroix, and we're going to give you a scenario and a mission, and you're going to write jokes for that scenario.
and if you're really serious, if you want to be a VIP, we will work on one of your upcoming events.
We'll put together what I call the humor map, which is, the entire briefing sheet, all the areas, all the incongruities, all the commonalities, and it's once you do those connections, it's like even people who aren't normally like joke writers start saying funny stuff because it doesn't make sense. Your brain's trying to make sense of it.
Yep. Amen. So check out stagetownworkshops.com. Connect with any audience is the upcoming event, virtual, so you can do it from anywhere in the world. And we record it, even if you're going to miss a day or two or part of it. Or
November 14th and 15th.
November 14th and 15th. Mark Brown, take us home.
My friends, it's great to know what comedians do. Now go ahead and make it happen. Follow us online, become a part of Stage Time, and go from good to great to unforgettable. See you next week.
After decades of coaching, we know that the biggest challenge most presenters face is not getting the quality of feedback they need to be unforgettable. If you're serious about receiving world-class feedback to become unforgettable, you can get 2-on-1 or 1-on-1 coaching from us by visiting getaspeakingcoach.com. You can also join us for ongoing training to elevate your skills at stagetimeuniversity.com, where we help good presenters become unforgettable.
Remember to subscribe, because if you miss a week, you miss a lot.
If you're going to take the time to prepare a presentation, make it unforgettable.
And thank goodness for Darren and Mark. I couldn't have done it without them. They're your partners the whole way. They go above and beyond.
It was so good to be coached by Darren and Mark. So having these two coach me elevated my delivery and elevated the power of my story.
It's been really, really amazing to go through this process with Darren and Mark. For me, I had never done anything like this, and the entire process was really, really amazing.
Thank you, Darren and Mark.
It was powerful. Whether you're a keynote speaker, emerging executive, or a seasoned pro, duo coaching will make you unforgettable.